So, good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Texas. It's nice to be back. Love Texas. Last time we were here, actually, that t-shirt, it birthed that t-shirt, correct? That's right. So you went and you did an independent wrestling match in like an old bowling alley or something in the middle of like nowhere, San Antonio, somewhere outside the city. And that kind of launched this whole wrestling trajectory post-Arrow. Am I wrong?
Well, no, we were still filming Arrow at the time. No, so I'm buddies with the Young Bucks and with Cody Rhodes, and they were doing a wrestling match here. Like someone came to my table yesterday who was actually there and had some, like, gave me a fun book of souvenirs and certificates, but yeah, I just came and wrestled one night in San Antonio. I had no idea where I was. Like, this was my first time actually experiencing San Antonio. Like, I got to go down the river walk and all that stuff, but I had never been to San Antonio. Did this match, really hurt my neck.
Yeah, you've gone through some tables. You've done some coast to coast. You've broken a few bones.
Yeah.
What have you learned from all of your wrestling training and maybe as your wife, being a little bit safer?
What have I learned from all of my wrestling training? That I am not a wrestler.
Training is a little different for wrestling than it is for Arrow.
Yeah, because the difference between what you would do just on your own and what you would do as soon as you have a crowd of people are two very different things.
Totally. We have a couple questions to kick us off.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Via some type of comment box or table.
By the way, it is really lovely here. I had a lovely time yesterday, and just I'm excited to get questions and do all that stuff.
I would say you're very Texas-friendly in general.
Very Texas-friendly in general, yeah.
As a Texan, I can vouch for that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Shawn Michaels is from San Antonio, correct? I'm right. So for I give a spoiler here, there's an episode of, in season 2 of Heels, there's an episode where I have to wrestle, and I wanted to do an ode to one of my favorite matches of all time, which is Shawn Michaels against Triple H at SummerSlam in, I think, 2002. And he hadn't wrestled in a while, so he wrestled in jeans and cowboy boots. I wrestled in jeans and cowboy boots this year.
And you were very excited about it.
I kept the cowboy boots. I kept it. Let's do some questions.
All right. Well, obviously you're working on Heels now. If you haven't caught it on Stars, catch up. Season 1, full season is out. Season 2 is coming up. But most of you know Steven from Arrow. So let's kick this off. We have a question from Maritza and Trey. What was your favorite and least favorite season of Arrow?
My favorite season was season 1. Just because it's like, you know, we have 2 kids now. Which one's your favorite? The first one. So, the second one's great, but you know, the first one, doing the raise the roof over there. Oh, don't tell your brother. The first season was my favorite for sure. Just the basics of accomplishing it in the first place. And my least favorite season was season 4. I loved all the people that I worked with in season 4. It just had slowly, in my mind, shifted away from the core of our show. The core of Arrow is about fighting crime and working on my relationships in Star City. By season 4, we had worked so hard to help fold in shows like The Flash and Legends of Tomorrow that it didn't feel like our show that much anymore. But I had a conversation at the end of season 4 with our big boss, and I said, you know, can we get back to fighting crime in Star City? And as a result, we got season 5, which is, I think, one of our strongest seasons.
Makes sense. You're talking about being a dad. You're a dad in real life, you're a dad on the show, and Michaela wants to know that if Moira hadn't kept from Oliver that he was a father, how drastically do you think his life would have changed?
So if Oliver had figured out that he was a father way back when, I don't know. He probably doesn't get on the gambit. I'm probably not here right now because there's no Arrow show. I don't know. You know how much I love hypotheticals. I don't like them at all.
All right, well, our last one from the crowd here is, since there is a DC multiverse, is there a universe where Oliver Queen exists, and would we see you portray him?
Well, I mean, it was just announced that he exists on the Superman and Lois universe, right?
Was it?
That was a hypothetical question. I was talking with David Ramsey the other day. No, it was announced that he does. Yeah, I mean, portraying Oliver again, I would love it. I think that it was time to go after 8 years. You and I talk about this all the time, that sometimes you miss the security of it, but I feel like we left at the right time. I feel like I danced all night, but left just before the lights came on in the bar. Do you guys know what I mean? But if it came time to do it again, if the story's right, I owe so much to portraying that character that I can't imagine that I would just draw a hard line of no. But that being said, we get back into hypotheticals again. No one has approached me about anything, so it's tough to say.
Okay, if they did approach you and say, we're going to do 10 episodes, you get to pick the storyline, you get to pick what happens with Oliver, you get to pick the circumstances, what would it be?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, yes.
Give me the pitch. What would the plot line be?
What would the pitch be?
Yeah.
That's nobody's business.
You don't want to share anything about what you would like Oliver to accomplish if he got to come back for a final swan song?
Well, you know how, like, Hugh Jackman got to play Wolverine for years, and then he got to play Logan? Yeah, that.
So you'd want to die again? Spoiler alerts.
No, I'd like to drive off into the sunset.
Okay, do we have more questions from
Sure we do.
the audience? Oh, okay. Well, I'm actually gonna have that little one bring those cards up.
Oh yeah.
Hurry.
Hey, anytime today, kiddo.
Anytime today, bring them up. Do you have a question for Oliver Queen, the Arrow?
You don't have a question?
You don't have anything to say?
Do you want to sit down for a second? Okay, then sit down.
There's nothing you want to say?
There you go.
Yes, there's nothing you want to say, or yes, you want to say something?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
You have failed this city.
It's almost like she likes being on stage or something like that. Good job, kiddo.
So how did you take being a real life dad on screen? Because now you did that with Arrow, you were doing that with Heels. What lessons do you take from life? And this is one of the questions from our audience. What real life lessons did you take away from filming Arrow? And I want to know what lessons as a real life parent do you take for acting when you were playing a father?
Well, the second question first. I just try to interact with I've had 2 on-screen kids, and William in Arrow and Thomas in Heels, and I just try to. I mean, Thomas on Heels is now essentially the same age as Mavi, so the only thing that I can really think of is I bring in. Like, I call her kiddo. We call her kiddo. I would call William kiddo. It wouldn't always make it into the cut, but they have me calling him like dude or sport or something like that. And I would just politely say, listen, I call my kid kiddo if we're looking for a natural exchange between the two of us. Can you just let me do that? And they would let me do that. And then what
real life lessons did you take away from filming Arrow?
Patience. Patience. Patience is really important. We talk about this with Maverick all the time. It's not about what you're asking for as much as it's often about when you ask for it. And you know, I didn't notice the amount of patience that I gained over 8 years on Arrow until I started on Heels. And you start a new project and you have a new perspective. And I had, you know, one of my co-stars, Alexander, turned to me this year when we were having a semi-difficult day on set. And he just remarked, like, I don't know how you ever got so patient. And I went, I do. Like, it took a long time to just get worn down over time. So I think about patience, and I also couple patience with persistence. And just thinking about, just because you don't accomplish something doesn't mean that trying didn't move you somewhat closer to the goal.
Well, I know that the CW and Starz are very different networks, and they do things very differently. The CW being a more traditional network, and Starz being a more modern cable network. And just the production aspect. You move so much faster on Arrow, because you got 8 days period, and your director's in and out, and Heels tends to take a bit longer, and maybe they're only using one camera for most of the shoot. How did you find working on the two different shows with two completely different means of production?
Well, that's just, you know, on Arrow, I always wanted more time to do things. I wanted the scene to have more breathing room. I wanted to be able to take more pauses. I wanted to be able to just have a conversation like it was more real life, like you have conversations in real life, and not have a conversation where you're rushing towards the commercial break. So I would always want more time on Arrow, and now that I'm on Heels, I'm getting a lot more time, but I'm also sitting there going, why aren't they moving faster? So I'm trying to have my cake and eat it too. But I like this process. The only thing that's weird on Heels is that for 8 years on Arrow, we didn't ever change a day because of weather. Like, we might have shot somewhere one night, and the next night there's a bunch of snow on the ground. And it's like, well, whatever. And we would just press on. And on Heels, we will constantly change the schedule around because of the threat of rain. And I always tell them, I'm like, we're not shooting in Arizona, we're shooting in Georgia in the springtime. What do you guys expect? So, that's okay though.
Hence the patience. Hence the patience.
Yeah.
So we have another question. Do you shoot your bow? And if so, how often? So do you still practice archery?
I haven't practiced archery in a little bit. Maddie and I are going to join the Austin Archery Club, which is right by our spot that we have in Texas. So I'll be shooting a little bit there, but I have to get a proper bow. I have the actual bow that I shot in the pilot of the show, because I stole it. And we actually I thought that I had lost it for the past year. I thought it had been stolen from our garage or misplaced or whatever. Someone grabbed it from the garage and took it out back and shot into our practice net and then left it behind a thing. So
that someone could have been you, but you know.
It might have been me. No, it might have been me, 100%.
So if you were going to pick anybody, or anybody that you would like to see play the Green Arrow on the big screen, who would it be? Obviously there's a lot of DC characters coming to life, and they are generally not the same person on TV as they are in film.
I don't know. But whoever does, and I'm sure that the character will exist again, because it has some, you know, there is some currency to the Green Arrow character now on screen that was, you know, started by Justin Hartley in Smallville and helped along by me. So, you know, it'll be somebody that they'll be announced as being cast as Green Arrow, and the entire internet will take a giant crap on it. And that typically means that they've done the right job, because that's going back to, I remember when Heath Ledger was cast as the Joker, and everyone was like, no. The guy from 10 Things I Hate About You? No. No. Except, yes, he was awesome. So, we'll see.
Would you do it?
Would I do it? I don't know. All these hypotheticals.
Well, you know what? It is a panel.
I understand. Hypothetical Saturday.
Okay, so not a hypothetical. Real question, no hypotheticals. What was your favorite crossover from Arrow?
My favorite crossover was when Barry and I switched bodies.
That was a fun one.
That was fun because that was like in the midst of, you know, the crossovers had gotten so giant. I think the previous one was, gosh, was it Crisis on Earth X, right? But I mean, it got to the point where everyone's just fighting aliens all the time. And that's all fun and stuff like that, but I just liked the Elseworlds crossover because we got to just, it's almost like a little bit of a buddy comedy. And also, like, I remember as a fan watching the cut for the first time, and when we announced that we're going to I think it was Earth 38 to Smallville, and they actually played the Smallville theme song. I was watching a cut, and I just assumed that they just put that in there for fun, but it was actually, you know, it was actually the Smallville music, and I just remember like geeking out as a fan, thinking it was really cool.
I think that was probably my favorite too, watching, and you know, they got kind of funky. Some of them were really, really intense to keep up with.
Also,
like the Infinite Earths. That's a lot of Earths to keep up with.
I don't think I could keep up with Crisis on Infinite Earths, and I was in it. But I also have to say the coolest thing in that crossover, when Tyler turns into, you know, black suit Superman. I think I altered my line a little bit. It was just supposed to say, like, it's up to you, and I changed it to your choice, Superman. And that was just the best. I just love saying that.
Well, Flash is coming to an end. As you are aware, The Flash is coming to an end, and The Flash was birthed from Arrow.
Yep.
And kind of birthed the TV, Arrow did birth the TV DC universe.
We were first.
Calling it the Arrowverse. How would you, as a fan, talking about watching these shows, how would you like to see the Flash series end?
With him being the fastest man alive?
Isn't he already the fastest man alive?
Yeah, occasionally he is. Right? Then typically every new season there's someone that might be faster or he might lose his speed.
Like,
so I would like to see things end. Listen, and things were supposed to end a certain way for Oliver. It was kind of predetermined. Barry has such a good disposition about him that if the show didn't end with, you know, a wink and a smile or something of the like, or a happily ever after, I would just like to see a happily ever after for him.
Seems fitting for the Flash. Well, enough about Arrow. On the personal side, someone, no name on this one, would like to know, how were you in school? Describe yourself as a student. So my guess is this is coming from a student.
Well, you know how I said earlier that Arrow taught me patience and taught me determination? I didn't really have those things in school. No, I was an okay student. I did what I had to do to get by, but you had to poke me and prod me to do homework and, you know, just do my basic assignments, because I would let them pile up over time. I accelerated in high school. I went to school just north of Toronto, and I started to really accelerate when it came to the extracurricular activities and being a part of the student body and drama and athletics. And if I found a subject that I was really interested in, like I took AP American History, and I loved it. And so in Canada, that's right. But I had no problem getting an A in AP American History because I liked the teacher and I liked the subject matter. But if I was not interested, I was getting a good enough grade to pass.
What subjects did you not have at your school? Real or fictional? Would you really have thrived in?
What subjects did we not have that we really would have thrived in? I don't know. That's a really good question.
So fun fact, here in Texas, I was a member of the FFA, and I took not only floral design, but advanced floral design. Both of those courses exist here in Texas, in case you're wondering, or they did at one point. It's been a minute since I've been in high school, but I feel like that is a pretty unique high school offering?
Sure. I'd like to say that I wish I would have taken like an advanced or even a beginner, course in carpentry or construction, but we both know that I'm terrible at building things.
You're probably one of the least handy people I have
That's
ever
right.
met.
That's right.
It's all right. One of us is handy. It works out. Okay. We also have a question. Who would win in a fight, you or your cousin, Robbie? Who would win in a fight?
Who would win in a fight?
Okay, so wait, hold on. I'm gonna give you.
I'm older, I'm taller, I'm heavier. Although, you know what? He's shifty, right? He's shifty. So I don't know. He might poke me in the eyes and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, I think that you would probably win in the wrestling ring, and you might win with weapons, right? Because you've got some.
I don't know about weapons because he plays all those games. He would stalk me. I'd get 2 in the back of the head before the fight even started.
So if you had something like an avatar where you hop into anything that's machine controlled, he'd wipe the floor with you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Put us in a pit.
Do we have a few more questions? I see some cards. And here they're coming. In the meantime, as you walk, can you say, Emily, you have failed this city?
Say it to who?
Emily, you have failed this city.
Emily, you have failed this city.
All right. If you could come up with a new tagline, obviously you failed this city was the prevalent line in season 1, and then it kind of tapered off after that. After you got through the book and the book was completed, pick a new tagline for the Green Arrow. Came back.
When he comes back to the Arrow Cave after like a night out, let's get some breakfast. Texas toast.
Has a lot more weight with the
By
Arrow.
the way, I'm sorry, but I had breakfast yesterday. Is Texas toast just toast?
No.
Thick.
It's very
those
thick.
people were lying at the hotel because I just got toast.
And butter and seasoning.
Oh, well, sorry. I thought Texas toast was just bread until now. Okay, all right.
Incorrect.
Got it.
Have I failed you? You failed this city. Have I failed you? Not teaching you these Texas basics?
Listen, I'm just basing this off of what I had for breakfast yesterday.
Got it. Okay. If Jack Spade had a tagline, what would it be?
Jack Spade had a tagline?
That's Ric Flair's.
Jack Spade's tagline is "Shut up." That's it.
That's a decent heel tagline. Okay, are you friends with Barry, aka Grant? I'm assuming this means in real life.
Am I friends with Grant Gustin in real life?
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. He and I were texting yesterday because I saw his announcement about the Flash coming to an end. In typical Grant fashion, he spoke, from the heart and with a lot of humility. And, I think there's a reason why you see so many Flash shirts in the crowd. And it's because he's an iconic character, but it's also because he's done such a wonderful job for the past 9 years of being an ambassador for him. So he and I had a nice text exchange yesterday, and we saw him and his wife at our friend's 50th birthday party. And I miss him. I hadn't seen him since November of 2019.
So you wore the Flash suit when you had your favorite crossover of all time. But
yep.
What was your favorite Arrow suit, and what was your least favorite Arrow suit?
My favorite Arrow suit was probably the second season. It was basically the first season suit, but we just made a couple of little adjustments that were less clunky and a little bit more streamlined and a little bit less apt to catch on things when I was out doing stuff in the suit for hours and hours and hours. And my least favorite suit, just from a practical standpoint, was when we took the sleeves off in season 4. Just because, I'm trying to get into Green Arrow vengeance mode on a rooftop at 4 a.m. in Vancouver, and it's tough to do that when I'm wearing my puppy warm-up jacket. I didn't like it as much. So the season 5 suit is the season 4 suit, we just put the sleeves on.
And your boots were Nike Freaks that they made into boots. Yeah,
we had made army boots to start off, and I said to them, I'm training in Nike Freeze. Can you just take those soles and turn them into a boot? and they did that. And that's actually like, if you look at most, if not all of the boots or shoes that superhero characters wear in the Arrowverse are sort of based off of that idea. Because army boots are a good idea, or for a female character, you know, like heels are a good idea until they're not.
Not very functional.
No, they're not.
Have you ever tried to do anything other than like hiking? It's incredibly difficult. It makes sense that you get to have a say in your uniform. What do you miss the most about Arrow?
What do I miss the most about Arrow? The camaraderie that I would have. I mean, we saw David Ramsey the other day, and I hadn't seen him in a long time. I made a lot of really good friends with the crew. I mean, you spend more time with them for the first, 6 or 7 years of the kiddo's life than I spent more time with them than I did with you guys.
That is true.
So, not because I had to, because I wanted. No, I'm kidding. So I miss that. I miss Vancouver. I miss Vancouver when the sun would shine from August through the beginning of October. I also miss Vancouver when it was January and it was just gross. Because it lent itself to the sort of the canvas that we used for the show.
It was the vibe. It was very brooding and very...
Yeah, it was really difficult to shoot Arrow when it was beautiful and sunny outside.
I mean, I enjoyed it when it was beautiful and sunny outside.
No, you did.
How do you feel about the new direction of Warner Brothers and in general the current state of DC on TV and film?
The new direction of Warner Brothers? I gotta be honest, I have no idea. I'm not following it. When I get into production, and I was in production on Heels from the beginning of February through the beginning of July, and then we went away on vacation. I'm not paying any attention. I just read that they scrapped a movie. That's weird.
Batgirl.
Yeah, they scrapped Batgirl. That's weird. That's weird.
It is strange to scrap a movie that has already had $100,000 or $100 million invested into it. For sure. Well, with that said, would you ever jump ship, switch over, and join the Marvel universe?
But why would that be jumping ship? I'm not under contract.
You're not on the ship anymore. Okay, so let's say board a new ship.
Yeah, sure. I don't know though, but you gotta I'm lucky enough to grab dinner last night with Giancarlo Esposito, and he was chatting with me. He's like, what do you think is next? And I said, well, I don't know. I would be very disappointed if there wasn't a season 3 of Heels. And I just watched a very early cut of Code 8 Part 2. And, but he was like, what do you think is next? And I said, well, I don't know. The Right Thing? And he went, yep, that's what's next. But I don't, when The Right Thing pops up, I knew nothing about Heels a day before I was talking with you about signing up for it. And I knew nothing about Arrow the day before I auditioned, and then 5 days later I had the part.
Okay, so one more hypothetical on that note, which you love. One more hypothetical on that note, which you love.
Let's do it.
So you get to create your own X-Men.
I get to create my own what?
You get to create and then portray your own X-Men character.
My own X-Men character?
Yeah, go for it. Sky's the limit.
My own X-Men character? Which means that I have abnormal abilities. I would, I know that there are characters like this, but I would just want to be I don't need superpowers. I'd like to sit behind a desk, and I would mind reading.
Isn't that Charles Xavier?
Yeah. I guess. I don't know. I feel like I'm on the spot here. No, like a mind reader.
Okay. There are mind readers. There's Jean Grey.
Or you know what? Or one of those characters that has the sort of amorphous ability to collect everyone else's powers and use them when they're... I haven't seen an X-Men movie since the original Bryan Singer X-Men movie. Like, it's the first one. Or other than that, I saw Logan. That's it.
Well, guess what? I know what our next family movie night is.
Okay, good.
There's a bunch of them. All right, shifting back to wrestling. What do you think about a post-Vince McMahon WWE? And do you think that Cody will do well back in the circuit?
So what do I think of a post-Vince McMahon WWE? Well, it's probably not a post, I think it's publicly a post-Vince McMahon WWE, but I don't know if he's actually stepping away. It would be interesting. WWE ebbs and flows based off of, you know, the top people at the company, and right now they're ebbing a little bit. But I think they'll do, they always find a way. And I think Cody will do great when he came back from surgery. When he comes back from surgery. That was gnarly. If people don't know, my friend Cody came back to WWE, then he got hurt and he wrestled with a torn pectoral. Ugh. I mean, good for him, but man, oh man, we saw him like 2 or 3 weeks later, and he was telling me about the surgery, and it's just, ugh, gross.
That was not a pretty injury to look at. You had a few injuries in the ring. Is there a chance that you're back in the ring safely? That last part I added on.
Yeah, I would love to. We don't know when the second season of Heels is going to come out, but I would love to do something. Wouldn't be the first time that I did it. When I first went into WWE in 2015, that was really to promote the new season of Arrow, and it worked. So, in order to promote the new season of Heels, I would like to run some type of program on television, whether that's with AEW or with WWE, and theoretically that would culminate with me being in the ring safely.
So, I think we can kind of end on this question, because I think that this is a pretty good one.
Sure. Keeping in mind, you've used up all of your hypotheticals for the month of August and September.
This is not a hypothetical.
Okay. All right.
I can't wait for October. What do fan interactions mean to you at events like this one? And have you had memorable moments or perhaps interesting fan mail come through?
So what do fan interactions mean for me at spots like this? It's just really wonderful. You know, I can see someone at the back dressed up as Green Arrow. I can see vigilante shirts, and I think that that's a Black Canary right there. And you know, I'm inevitably at some point today going to hear a really special story, or meet a mother and a daughter, or a father and a son, or a family, and they come up with their kiddo who's 16 or 17 years old, and talk about how this was the show that Arrow was the show that they bonded over when he was 7 years old. Maybe a smidge early to watch the show, but okay. And so I have those really special moments. It's nice to get out here and connect with everyone. You know, one of the very, very first conventions that I did, I think it was maybe the second convention that I did was in Dallas. And so I've always really, really enjoyed interacting with, people, especially in Texas. Just going and seeing different spots and meeting different people, it's really special. It's really special.
Well, hopefully you'll get to hear some more great stories today. We've had some really fun, interesting fan gifts in the past. What's your favorite?
My favorite what?
Your most interesting or your favorite fan gift?
My favorite fan gift? Oh my goodness.
I've seen some really interesting things come up to the table, and you've done conventions all over the world, in Australia and Germany, and just been everywhere. And
well, I would say that it wasn't for me, but in Australia, this lovely woman came up, and she had made a bespoke Batgirl costume for our kiddo, and it was. What are you showing me a picture of?
Checking out this picture. Oh, from a Dallas
There you go, second dimension Dallas. Am I holding you in that one? Okay. See, there you go. But yeah, she made this bespoke Batgirl costume that fit her perfectly. She had like designed the size based off of seeing photos of Maddie on the internet, or with us, or like on Instagram or whatever. And she put it on for Halloween. It fit perfect. She had the nicest costume at the entire school, and made me dress up as a sloth to take her in very hot weather.
Very hot weather. It can be warm in LA in October. Well, catch Steven at the table, get some good photos with him, bring him some good stories. Thanks, guys. Great to be back in Texas.
Thank you guys very much.